Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Grow with G. Thank you so much for listening. Yesterday I hit my 50th Spotify follower, so that was really exciting, and it's really amazing to see the podcast growing. I'm having people watching it on YouTube too and leaving really sweet comments, so thank you so much if you've been listening or watching wherever you are. And if you followed or if you subscribed, that means so much to me. And if you haven't done it yet, and if you want to, please go ahead. I also have Instagram and TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. So whatever you use, please feel free to follow it, leave any reviews or comments, and of course always message me to chat about anything that I mention. I really love talking about it so much, so please keep letting me know. I am recording in Santa Teresa in Costa Rica, which is a magical place. Like, I love this part of Costa Rica so much, and it's so beautiful. I'll definitely do an episode on Costa Rica recommendations soon, but today I want to talk about yoga, because some of you might know that last month, that's crazy, I did my yoga teacher training here in Costa Rica in Uvita, and wow, it was such an amazing experience. Like, it definitely had its challenges, but overall so incredible. So in this episode I'll share what I learned about yoga, and then at the end I'll also talk about the yoga teacher training in case anybody's interested. I can also get anyone a discount if you want to do it in Costa Rica too. We love saving money, right? So yeah, let me know if you want me to get that for you. So I actually didn't want to be a yoga teacher. I was purely doing it to learn about yoga. And I had a friend who had done it recently too, and through this same place, and I saw that there was also a spiritual and philosophical side of yoga that I have honestly had no idea about. Like, I vaguely kind of knew that it does have that, but I didn't know any of the details. So from this training, I was really looking at trying to understand the poses, and then also that broader context, because I feel like when you just drop in and out of classes, especially if you're on ClassPass where you don't go to the same studio, you just kind of go do the poses. You're probably not doing all of the poses properly either, because sometimes when a teacher adjusts you, then you feel it in a whole other kind of way. And sometimes I'm like shook, being like, whoa, that changed things so much. Like, what else am I doing wrong? Like, how can I improve this? So that was my main intention behind the teacher training, but I actually loved it so much that now I actually think I do want to teach it. So yeah, I'll go into more details of that at the end. But my journey with yoga, it started out like wanting to be flexible, and I was doing it for that like stretching part, which I think is very common, and some people also use it then as a workout, especially if it's like one of those really intense flows, which is called vinyasa. And especially like hot yoga, that's a really great workout. And I also just loved how I felt after I did yoga. Like, it was always so nice on a weekend to wake up, go and get a coffee. And it was so funny, like sometimes I come out of my yoga studio on a popular street in Melbourne, and there are people still out clubbing, which is kind of funny, like the transition that I've made from that life to this life. But I love doing that. And then I go and get when I'm getting my coffee, I journal too, which is just like a really nourishing way to start your weekend. But I also want to do it more consistently during the week too. So that was awesome that the yoga training like really held that space for me to develop a richer practice. and to do it more often now too. So that's really cool. And yeah, it's just crazy how much I learned. So I think most of us think that yoga is just the poses, which, by the way, if you don't know, are called asanas. And it's actually so much more than that, which I didn't know about. So if you don't, it's totally fine too. No judgment here. It's an entire way of being. And it helps you connect to yourself, because they describe it as like a journey of the self through the self to the self, which is really cool. And part of that is the poses, yes, but it's also like a set of principles, things to refrain from. And it's like some of those principles, it's like not harming. So yeah, this is all like off the mat. Your yoga isn't just like the 1 hour class that you book. Like yoga is actually your way of being. Like it's not 1 hour of the day, it's the whole day. So during the day off your mat, they say don't do any harm. And it's not just like physical violence to people, it's also to objects, which is really interesting. Like they talk about dragging a chair across the ground. Like you literally hear the chair like screaming or like crying when you pull it with force. So they talk about having like a gentle yogic touch to everything, which I really love. And another example they went through was like when you're doing the dishes, if you're doing it like kind of aggressively, it's like clinking and crying. But when you do it softly, like you don't have that. It's a much more pleasant experience, right? So I really liked that. And then I was practicing that throughout the yoga teacher training, and I'm really trying to hold on to that post-training as well. And another one is not telling the truth, which I think I need a whole episode to cover on that, because there's a lot to that one. And so I'll put that out soon. And not stealing. And some of you might be like, yeah, no problem, like of course I don't steal from shops. But it also extends broader. It's like, do you steal people's time by being late? That one hit me. So I'm really trying to be early to everything now. What else was there? Sense moderation, just because, you know, we all just love indulging. I'm a big indulger over here, and like ultimately that's not good for us. Like to eat the amount of chocolate that I used to eat, not good. So that also ties into like not being greedy and like not hoarding. Hoarding is, again, something that I do. So these are like, it's all a very active practice for me. And like, that's one of the biggest things about yoga. It's like, it's all a practice. Like you can't just learn it and it's perfect and you've finished. Like you just have to like keep showing up, keep trying. And each time that you try, you'll be better. And they talked about like, there's no interruptions. There's only invitations. So like, each time something happens to you, it's not an interruption, it's actually an invitation for you to deepen your practice. And I really love that, and I'm trying to adopt that. Sometimes that's really hard. Like I was exhausted on my yoga training and things were happening. Go listen to my Let It Go episode for details. It is really hard to be in that mindset when you're really tired and everything, but so that's why we've got to practice it when we feel good, so that it's easier to do when we don't feel good. So just keep showing up. And so those were some of the regulations of yoga kind of off the mat. And there's also other things like personal observances they talk about, which is learn to understand yourself. And that's a massive one in yoga, especially in the poses, because we've all been in a yoga class, I'm sure, if you've been in one, where somebody's doing like some crazy expression of the pose and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that too, and you like try to bend yourself into it and it's forceful and it's unstable. Like, you're not listening to your body if you're just trying to copy what somebody else is doing. Yoga is about getting in touch with your body, doing what feels good for you. And they talk about like discomfort is okay. We should never have pain. And yeah, you've just really got to listen to your body and like take things slow. Don't compare yourself to the other people in the class. Yoga is your own journey. So really try to understand yourself, and irrespective of what other people are doing, and surrender into the poses. You want to hold the pose and actually connect to your breath in the pose, which I didn't know about before this. And when you hold the pose, like that's where you can really try to connect with yourself and see how the pose feels. And the transitions are also beautiful too. Like, there is so much magic in that flow and in the transition, and that again, it goes off the mat. Like, the transition points in our lives, they can often be really difficult, but they're so beautiful when you're learning more, you're upgrading your whole life. Even if things seem hard, they're normally for a reason. And everything usually works out better than you can plan, right? So I love all of those principles and ways of being off the mat too. Like, that's really awesome. And so it's just so much more than the poses, and because there's also breath work and meditation, and all of it combined improves your whole life. Like, in the poses, you're squeezing out toxins from your body, and you're improving your digestion, you're unblocking your energy channels. It's really cool. It's rebalancing your energy systems. We went in depth in the training into the energy systems. I won't do it now, but if you're interested, definitely message me. I'll give you some resources and we can chat about it too. But ultimately, all of those practices, like the poses, breathwork, meditation, and those observances and regulations, it's to calm your mind. Like, that is the most important part. And I love that because I feel like nobody, well, in the Western world, I don't think we know that that's actually the point of yoga, or maybe that's not why we do it, right? So it's really cool that it has that effect to calm your mind, and it can help you cultivate that inner peace, because if you don't have inner peace, like, you can't have outer peace. Like, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, people will always find something to complain about. Unless you have inner peace, unless you are okay where you are, unless you can make the best of every situation and focus on the positives instead of the negatives, because you can find negatives everywhere. Like, trust me, been there, done that. No, thank you. I want to find the beauty in life. Like, I want to see the best in people. I want to use like negative experiences to help grow me. And that's just so much better, right? Like, yoga is just another way to improve your life. Like, that's the focus of this podcast. Like, if I just help one person do one thing that improves their life, like, my goal is achieved. And I have achieved that. Like, so many people have messaged me that I've helped them, and that means the absolute world. Like, it feels so good to know that what I'm sharing is actually helpful and useful. So please always reach out if you find anything helpful. I love hearing about it, and then I can make things more relevant for you when I know what's going on for you. So I think that's all I wanted to say on like the philosophy behind it. I loved the yoga philosophy classes in the yoga teacher training. We had them every day after we had woken up and had breakfast. We then had the philosophy. Then we had like a poses workshop, and after the poses we would have lunch, and the meals were incredible. So we were on a very strict diet. It was vegan, gluten-free, processed sugar-free, and probably some more things that I've forgotten about. So it was pretty strict, and I pretty much stuck to it the whole time. And so after lunch we would have like an anatomy workshop or a teaching methodology workshop, and every day we practiced teaching. It was really awesome to just start teaching from the beginning, because then it wasn't so scary when you started doing it, and you practiced on the other people in the group. I had such an amazing group of people. I just love that I keep finding new communities of people, and it's so awesome when you find people with similar interests. So that was really cool. And just each day our teachings got progressively longer. So it was very much a gradual build up. And then we finished the training by giving an entire class, which also included giving breath work and meditation. And I practiced leading my first meditation, and honestly I only thought I was going to do that, like lead a meditation, after I'd done my meditation teacher training, which I'm doing in October in New York. But one of the girls on the training loved my meditation so much and suggested that I record it as a podcast episode, so I did that. So if you haven't taken it, go back and listen to that one. It was really fun to do the class, and even if English isn't your first language, that we had one girl who was from France who was lovely and amazing, and she was so amazing. So she did it. You can do it. Everyone can do it. Don't be afraid. It's such a supportive, incredible environment. We all held such space and grace for each other, and the teachers, oh my gosh, they are incredible human beings. Like they have this inner light. I mean, we all have an inner light, right? But theirs shines so brightly. They knew exactly what to say. They taught us some amazing cueing for the poses, amazing adjustments, and they just like loved talking to us too. We had such deep conversations, and they taught us so many skills in how to set up like a yoga business and leadership. And they all have so many cool business ventures, and they host retreats and things. So maybe one day I'll also do that. But it was so amazing to learn from them. And the location is stunning. The yoga deck is literally like in the jungle. It was a 5-minute walk from the house every morning, and it was so beautiful to do that walk. And they also take you on excursions. We went to a waterfall, a river, the beach. Your graduation's on the beach too, which is really beautiful. And all the time you're like telling each other what you love about them. And it was such an incredible space. Like, despite the challenges, like you will have challenges. Like it's a very intensive. Like it was a 200-hour training to be a teacher. Like we're teaching alignment. It's pretty like important to get that correct. So there was a lot to it, but it was so incredible, and I highly, highly recommend to anybody who wants to do it. So please reach out if you want to do one generally. If you want to do the same one I did in Costa Rica, as I said before, I can give you a discount on it. It was so beautiful in the jungle. The most stunning yoga deck ever. We could see monkeys from the yoga deck, horses, there was a stream nearby, and yeah, it was so beautiful. It's such an incredible space. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in that. If you have any questions about yoga generally, that could be the poses, that could be the philosophy, anatomy, or anything. So thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. You are beautiful, you are kind, you are incredible. I hope you have a good day or good night wherever you are in the world. I love you so much. Thank you. Good night. Goodbye.